Dvon J-Thomas for you guys today. As always, use the raise hand function on Zoom, and we will get the questions. Go ahead, Tyler Donahue, and start us off.
Devon, good morning. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Curious what you think that this team accomplished during the last few weeks of preseason camp and how you guys have set yourself up for success going into game action.
Honestly, this is a different group from last year. We had a tremendous defense, and then coming into this year, this is our opportunity to prove that the same holds true with this group. And I think over the last couple of weeks, during this very, very long camp, um, we've kind of built that chemistry as a defense, similar to what we had last year. And I think that'll be a huge help for us, just in terms of what we're capable of as a new unit. A little bit more so than what we saw in the spring. So just building that chemistry, and then just seeing what all the guys are capable of, especially those who are stepping into bigger roles coming into the season. What they're capable of, and just our level of communication and preparedness going into it.
Rich Scarcella.
Thanks, Matt. Dvon, what are the expectations for this team, big picture?
I mean, well, to be West Virginia, want to know mindset, week by week basis. Make 10 national championship goals in your first. So I say beat West Virginia. That's priority number one.
Seth Angle.
Hey, Devon, thanks for doing this. Coach Franklin talked yesterday about the logistics of opening on the road. Wondering from your perspective, any stories or lessons that you think you've learned from playing on the road that, maybe could teach some of these younger guys?
Composure, when you get into an environment, like West Virginia, they're great opponents. They have a great atmosphere. So, going into that type of atmosphere, just a hostile atmosphere in general, composure is definitely the biggest one, especially for the younger guys or guys who haven't necessarily seen away games like what we're going to see at West Virginia, especially with the season opener. So composure is definitely going to be a big one. People tend to lose themselves opening week just because of everything going on.
Daniel Gowan.
Thanks for the time today, Devon. James talked about wanting this camp to be more physical for you guys. You just mentioned that it was a long camp. What were these past couple of weeks like for you, and how did it compare to what you've done in the past at Penn State?
I mean, there's no doubt, the physicality aspect of it was definitely pushed to the limit this camp, for sure. And compared to my last, couple years, however long I've been here, it seems like forever. This camp has definitely been a more challenging one, just from scheduling standpoint, and then just the physicality, the daily violence, day in and day out. It's been one to be, it's one for the history books for sure.
Johnny McGonigal.
Hey, Devon, thanks for your time. Much appreciated. I know Abdul and Deni and those guys might have, a more one-on-one perspective on this, but in terms of the right tackles, what you guys have seen from a defensive line standpoint during preseason camp, with Nolan and Anthony, what's your read on how those guys have progressed and developed?
Especially with Coach K coming into the picture as our new offensive coordinator, I feel like they fit well into the scheme. As tackles who are able to move very, very well. I think that's going to be a big help for us coming in this upcoming season, especially the way, uh, I'm sure you've seen it when Coach K was at Kansas. Just his style of offensive play. It's just a lot faster than what we've experienced before in the past. So I feel like the tackles that we have now, especially at the right tackle position, those guys are well built, strong, fast, and very capable of executing at a very, very high level within this offense.
Audrey Snyder.
Hey, Dvon, appreciate you doing this.
for
Um,
sure.
I'm curious when you kind of look at Drew Aller in the way that you've been around him for a long time and kind of how you've seen him develop. What's maybe something about Drew that you know that perhaps we don't, or an area that he's kind of improved or grown?
He's definitely grown a lot in his leadership for sure. Just taking command of the room or taking command of the offense has been a huge plus for him, especially in this camp. You've seen that progression. Well, I've seen the progression for sure. You guys will see it soon. From that young kid who came in, had to take on the starting QB role at 19 years old. He's really grown into the role as QB1. Just his leadership, his voice in the offensive room, how he carries the offense. Uh, you've seen it heavily throughout camp. Um, I'm sure you've seen it in those practices that you guys have visited, but he's grown a lot in his leadership role, and I think that'll be a huge plus for our offense. As a we need a field general on offense, and I think Drew is the guy to do it, and he has been doing it very well. So,
Joe Smeltzer.
Hey, Dvon, thanks for the time.
yes, sir.
Talking about West Virginia, they have two strong running backs in CJ Donaldson and Jahim White. What have you seen from those guys? What challenges do each of them present?
The versatility, their skill set in terms of their speed. They're great. They're both really good players, and they execute well within the scheme of the West Virginia's offense. So honestly, I'm just excited to play them. They give a good look. They're both super talented, and I'm excited to see them outside of it.
Max Ralph.
Hey, Dvon, how you doing?
Good.
I'm doing well. James Franklin gave the green light to a couple of freshmen yesterday. I think you probably have good perspective on both of those guys, Dwan Lane at safety and Cooper Cousins on the offensive line. Just what have those guys done to earn that right?
Their consistency. You don't see a lot of young guys come in with their level of consistency. Coop from day one has come in and been just a hardworking guy. In terms of just his approach to his technique, plays, pretty much everything under the sun you could think of. And Dwan has done the same thing. Just a super talented young guy from my area, Gilman, of course. But they've done a tremendous job of coming in and being who they are day in and day out and putting their best foot forward. So I think those are two. They're going to be two huge players for us come this season.
All right, folks, we got time for three more questions. We'll go Tyler Donahue, Rich Scarcell, and Daniel Gallen. Go ahead, Tyler.
Thanks, Matt. Dvon, you've known Deni Dennis Sutton longer than most because of your background at McDonough. So I'm just gonna kind of ask you, in what ways has he stayed the same as the young kid you encountered, and where have the biggest strides of growth been made in your opinion?
Just his work ethic. His work ethic has stayed consistent ever since I've known him. He's always wanted to be the top D end in the country, the number one defensive end in the country, and I'm sure you've seen his tweets and seen him talk about it often. He proves that every single day. So his work ethic is definitely one of those things that he's kept since he was younger. And then just in terms of how he's developed, just his mental side of the game has developed tremendously. Just how he approaches the game, how he sees plays, especially throughout this camp. I think the game of football has slowed down for him a lot, and I think that's going to be super beneficial for us, especially going into this season with so many different young ends.
Rich Scarcella.
Thanks, Matt. Dvon, I know you're a leader on this team, obviously. But what have you seen from Nick Dawkins, the way he leads, and what did you see from him on the field during camp?
Well, Nick Dawkins, I mean, coming into the season, he's really taking control of that offensive line room. He solidified himself as big dog in there. So he's done a tremendous job in leading them every single day in what they do, how they work, how they approach the game, their film study. So he's been doing a tremendous job. And what was the second half of that question?
What did you see from him on the field during camp? How well was he doing? How was he doing during camp on the field?
Oh, he was doing extremely well. You know, all that hard work over the summer that he's went through with the offensive line, it is translated. You know, this is going to be one of his first year getting a significant amount of playing time. You know, he's our starting center, so it's definitely translated that all that work that he did in the summer, in terms of his speeds, his reads, just his technique has all been polished very well.
Daniel Gallen, last question.
Dvon, you referenced being at Penn State for a long time earlier in this call. You know, this is year 6 for you going into week 1. You know, when you think back to 2019 and going into week 1, where do you feel like you've changed the most? You know, whether that's as a player, as a person, what has this kind of stretch of time been like for you?
Definitely the mental side of it. You know, a lot of this game is dependent on how your mental is on a day-to-day basis, and just in terms of, you know, what I've seen, what I've experienced. I think the biggest thing for me has just been to appreciate it all. You know, once you appreciate it all, the biggest thing I would say is probably gratitude. The work is not only just work, but you're grateful that you're able to work. So the work is, I mean, it doesn't feel like work, you know. Being here for so long, like it's no longer a workout here, workout there. It's like I'm every day I'm getting better. Like I'm 1% better than I was yesterday. And I think that's been, you know, the biggest change. Like a lot of guys come in and they feel like, oh, this workout is going to be hard. I'm going to hate this workout, blah, blah, blah. But I've been here so long. It's just like this is another opportunity for me to get better, you know? And I feel like I kind of had that mindset, you know, some years ago, but it wasn't to this extent. And I think that's really helped me grow in my game and, you know, how I operate on a day-to-day basis.
Cool. Thanks, Dvon. Thanks, folks.